Hi, my name is Silly and welcome back to my channel. You might notice I'm surrounded by quite a few books, and it's actually more than you think. So today we're doing something that I've been meaning to do for a long time, both personally and for you all, which is going through all of my special editions. That's right, all of my special editions. And comparing them, comparing my Fairyloot subscriptions and my Illumicrate subscriptions and a couple other ones that I've gotten over the years. I have been a subscriber to Illumicrate for I think 3 or 4 years now, and for Fairyloot for 3 years. So this is comparing quite a few books. I rarely skip, and that's one of the reasons that I have been wanting to do this video, because I have quite a few books here that I'm really excited to read. Books that I have already read and really enjoyed or plan to unhaul. But there are also quite a few books where I did not pay attention to what book I was going to receive that month, and I didn't plan ahead and I didn't skip. So then when I received the book and I saw it and I realized this is not something I ever plan on reading, it was a bit of a bummer because these subscriptions are expensive. They're like $35 to $45 for special edition books. And I don't like to waste money, as no one does. And in this video, I plan to compare my subscriptions to really think through, do I want to get rid of one of these? Is one perhaps better than the other, either based on what books they're picking every month or based off of the different designs that they're picking, or if they're honestly on the same level, really paying attention to the accounts that provide spoilers for the book boxes based off of the hints that the boxes themselves provide. And then just skipping the ones that I know I'm not interested in, because both of these book boxes, Illumicrate and Fairyloot, allow a certain number of skips per year where you can skip that month, not be charged, not receive the book. So let's go ahead and compare. First of all, we are going to go through all of the books in each subscription box. Firstly, we have Illumicrate on this side and Fairyloot on this side, and then a couple other subscription boxes. Let me go over those other subscription boxes first, since those are a lot less cumbersome than the other two, and I subscribe to these for very specific reasons. So first of all, you will notice my gorgeous set of Bridgerton special editions. These are all of the books in the Bridgerton series. I bought the first 4 volumes as I think a birthday gift to myself, and then I bought the next set of 4 volumes as a new job / promotion gift to myself. So these were pretty pricey, especially all together. I think each was like $30. So these were a very fun gift to myself. I have been reading them as the new shows come out, but I do plan on getting through all of these one day. I have some of these that I've enjoyed more than others. Overall, a worthwhile investment, as these are gorgeous and I love them so much more than the other covers, and I love having a full set. So these in particular came from Once Upon a Book Club, and they were limited edition. They have their own subscription service, but you can also just get their one-off books. These were specifically a pre-order a couple years ago that I decided to partake in. Then we have the only 2 remaining Owlcrate books as far as I can find for my bookshelves. I had Owlcrate for maybe about a year in like 2018, 2019, and I didn't love most of their selections. I didn't love most of what they were doing to the covers. That was many years ago, so I know they're very different these days. So take this with a huge grain of salt, because they have changed quite a bit, especially after Illumicrate and Fairyloot started doing stenciled edges and they started doing more designs. But these are the only 2 I have left, because the other ones I either didn't like the book itself that was chosen. It was my first book box ever, so I was more excited about the novelty of having a book subscription box and having a surprise book every month. And at some point I realized that most of the books I was receiving I was not interested in, I didn't plan on reading, or I just didn't enjoy what they picked. So first of all, we have A Lesson in Vengeance. This one had like a silver sprayed edge. I honestly don't really love the cover redesign. It had like another cover underneath, it just looks too happy and flowery for this book. But I enjoyed this book. I'm not going to get rid of it, so I have it now. Then I also got A Crown of Feathers at some point. I really loved this series. I ended up being on the street team for it, and then I never continued the series, and I really want to at some point. But then I also got the original cover of this, so I am actually unhauling this very soon because I don't like what they redid the covers as. It's really the same cover as the original, except it's darker here and the colors are just more vibrantly red, and I like the originals a lot better. So I'm gonna get rid of this at some point. Then the other book box that I subscribed to very briefly was Fox and Wit. I really liked their cover designs for a lot of their past ones, and I saw that they were doing a book that I was really excited about, so I really wanted to see and get their cover redesign for that one. So I subscribed for 1 month, and then I saw their next book and was like, ooh, actually I really want that one as well. And then for the 3rd month, I just forgot to unsubscribe. So now I am unsubscribed and I have 3 books from them. So first we have Empire of the Shadows. This one is one I was really excited about and the reason I subscribed originally. I really like this edition. This was the whole main reason I subscribed to them. So I was very excited about that. Then the reason I continue to be subscribed is An Academy for Liars, which I actually have the e-arc for and I'm still reading. I really loved their cover redesign for this one. And then the book that I just happened to get because my dumbass forgot to unsubscribe is The Book of Sin, which I have absolutely no idea what it's about. I don't like the cover redesign of it. It's just, I don't like the art style of the character. It's just personal preference. The rest of the cover redesign I think is fun and cute, and I love this border, but I have no idea what this book is about, so I'll figure it out at some point. And I got some stickers, so that was neat. So now with Once Upon a Book Box, Owl Crate, and Fox and Wit out of the way, let's get to the Illumicrate and Fairyloot books. This is gonna take a while. All right, I have 29 Illumicrate books and 23 Fairyloot books. Both of them are from their regular adult fantasy subscription boxes. Both Fairyloot and Illumicrate now have their own specialized genre subscription boxes, and I think both of them have young adult subscriptions. Maybe only Fairyloot has a young adult specific subscription, but both of these are adult regular fantasy subscriptions. There are, I believe, a few Fairyloot books that I bought as one-offs, and for both of these subscriptions I do the book only option because I don't need a ton of trinkets, especially since these are 29 and 23 books. I would have a lot of random bookish trinkets, and I did that when I was subscribed to Owl Crate, and I just didn't like most of the things. I thought that they were fun or cute, but I have enough stuff and I don't need more knickknacks, so that's just not for me. Now let's talk about the books from each of these subscriptions that I have read, plan to read, don't plan to read, have DNF'd, or am planning to unhaul. Let's start with Fairyloot. Okay, I have organized all of my Fairyloot books. So, as I mentioned, there's a total of 23 books. Total read is 1. Which is honestly, I was not expecting that. I knew I had a lot of special editions and a lot I had not read, but having read only 1 out of 23 of the Fairyloot books I've received is honestly very humbling. And one of the reasons is because these are all large fantasy books. I haven't been reading a lot of fantasy in the last few years. I just really started getting back into reading fantasy books literally in the last 3 months. And a lot of the larger books that I read are on my e-reader, since it's just a lot easier to bring around with me, put in my bag, read on a commute to work, since I'm usually stuck on the metro and in tight quarters, and it's a lot easier to hold in my hand. So that's the reason. It's no excuse. So I have read 1 of these books, which means there's 22 unread. I do kind of plan on reading all 22 of these with some like exceptions. But first of all, the only book that I have read of these is Son of Blood and Ruin. And I read this with my book club, The Mythologists, and I hated this. There's a whole dedicated review on this. I will not go through all of my thoughts on these books in this video in particular, since in this video we're really mainly focusing on comparing these different book boxes and looking at the stats. But I hated this book. That being said, this is possibly one of the most beautiful books I have ever seen, so I would typically unhaul a book that I disliked this much. The problem is this book is gorgeous, so I've kept it on my shelves. We shall see. Maybe I will actually unhaul it one day. And then there are 3 out of the remaining 22 books that I feel kind of meh about, and they are much lower on my priority to read. The first of which is The Hurricane Wars, which I was so excited to read. It's a gorgeous special edition, and the premise still sounds really good to me. I am trying to take my time away from it and give it another shot, but I started the first couple chapters and it really annoyed me. So I am taking a break. I'm going to return to it at another time when those feelings of annoyance have drifted away. But for now, I'm not as interested in picking this up as everything else. If the story continues how the first few chapters would, I would be DNFing it and unhauling it. But it also is so beautiful, so it's very annoying. And then these next 2, I'm just not that into their storylines, or I've seen really mixed reviews on them. First is A Feather So Black. So this is a Swan Lake retelling. I just really am not interested in the Swan Lake retelling. If I had checked to see what book I was going to be getting that month, I would have skipped. So I received this and I'm just not interested in it. So I might gift it to a friend one day. For now, I'm just not interested in it. I've seen some good reviews. I just don't think this book is for me. And then next is Shanghai Immortal. I was really excited about this. The premise sounded really interesting, but I've seen some pretty rough reviews, and I don't think that we should put all our faith in reviews because every single person has different interests and tastes in reading. So what someone else might dislike, you might love. But I have seen quite a few meh reviews on this, so I'm just a little less interested in this than I was before. Now, of those 22 total that I mentioned that I have unread and am planning on reading one day, I have 7, yes, 7 that are actually next up on my TBR. First of all, we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. I am really looking forward to reading this. This is by S.A. Chakraborty, or Shannon Chakraborty, who also wrote the City of Brass series, which I need to still finish because it's one of my favorite books of all time, and I still have yet to actually read the rest of the series. So I want to read this one. Then I would really like to read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I'm planning on actually having this be one of my book club picks for my mythology book club. The Mythologists, we read myths and myth retellings from all around the world every 2 months or so we spend 2 months reading a book. We have been on a pause as I've regained my energy since the winter months, but for one of the next book club picks, I'm planning on choosing A Fate Inked in Blood. This is based off of Norse mythology. And I also just read this author's Bridge Kingdom series, or at least just the first one of her Bridge Kingdom books, so I really want to read this one as well. Then we have Swordcatcher. This is by Cassandra Clare, who wrote the City of Bones series and the Mortal Instruments series. One of my good friends, Kaylee, read this and absolutely loved it, so I'm really planning on reading it soon. It is just huge, so I am saving my energy for this in maybe later this summer, but I did read the first chapter of this as my try-chapter challenge. I have been meaning to read Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields for a very long time. Well, maybe not very long, actually maybe like a year. And I received this in my subscription box. I was really excited to read it, and then I just didn't have the time or the energy to do it. It's not that long, and I really want to read it soon. Then I started reading Evocation, I think, by S.T. Gibson, and I've heard great things about this. I've been meaning to read it. I started it in like winter, and then got way too busy with life and didn't read very much. So I want to get back into this. It was really good when I was reading it. This next book, Immortal, I'm so excited to keep reading. I read the first chapter of this for my try chapter challenge that I mentioned. I loved it. I really want to read this soon, and I was just able to get a digital copy as well since it is quite large, and as I mentioned, it's a lot easier for me to read on the go on my e-reader. So instead of having to try to hold this and hold it open in one hand when I'm jammed between a bunch of other humans on the metro, I can read it on my e-reader. So I'm excited to keep reading this one. And then a little less excited, but still excited to still read Sorcery and Small Magics. This was also a book that I started for my Try Chapter Challenge. You may sense a theme here. And this one was interesting. I enjoyed the first chapter. I want to keep reading it. And that leaves about 12 Fairyloot books that I am still interested in reading one day. They're unread, but I'm just a little less excited about them. So those are The Fox King, The God and the Gumiho, The Gods Below, Long Live Evil, The Lives of Puppets, The Teller of Small Fortunes, The Night Ends with Fire, The Scorpion and the Night Blossom, The Curse of Saints, The City of Stardust, One for My Enemy, and Immortal Longings. So for all of these, I am still really interested in reading them. For some of them, I don't know as much about the synopsis as I know about some of the other ones. So honestly, if I read some of these synopses, I might be more excited about some of them. Some of them I am really excited to read. They just aren't a priority on my TBR like the other ones that I mentioned. So I will hopefully get to these at some point. They just aren't a priority right now. So that was it for all of the Fairyloot books. As a recap, I have 12 books that I'm interested in reading that are unread, 7 books that are on my TBR that I'm really excited to read, 3 books that I'm kind of met on, have maybe started, might unhaul, aren't really for me, and 1 book that I have read that I probably should unhaul, but it is too beautiful to be unhauled. Now let's talk about the 29 Illumicrate books that I have. I've counted up all of my Illumicrate books and here are the stats. As I mentioned, I have 29 total Illumicrate books. Of those 29, 22 are unread and 7 are read, or it's like 6.5 because I'm almost done with one. So like, let's just say 7 are read. Then next up on my TBR, I have 2. Then there are an additional 3 that aren't next on my TBR, but I am very excited to read. Then there are 10 that I plan to read, but I don't really know what they're about, and I feel honestly very neutral about them. And I have 7 that I am not interested in reading or plan on unhauling. So let's go through each of those. Of the ones I have read, they are The Phoenix Keeper, which I loved, God Killer, which I did really enjoy, Babel, which I did enjoy but had a couple issues with, A Dark and Drowning Tide, which I loved, A Study in Drowning, which I really enjoyed, and Goddess of the River, which I did enjoy and I read for my book club, The Mythologists. Then last of all is the book that I'm currently reading, which I'm counting as part of the read books since I'm almost done, and it is Water Moon, and I am obsessed with this. I love this. Then we have 2 books that are on my next up TBR, which is Witch King by Martha Wells. I have started and stopped reading this multiple times because I keep trying to read it on audiobook, and I think that's not working for me because I keep getting distracted and getting sidetracked and then not knowing what's going on in the story. So I just need to keep reading this physically, and I am really excited to read it. I just need to actually read the physical copy that I have. And then of Jade and Dragons, I'm planning on reading this as a dragon book, either fitting it into this month's Draconathon in April or reading it for our August Draconathon. Then the 3 books that I'm really excited to read but aren't on my next up TBR that I want to get to at some point soon is The Whispering Dark. I've been wanting to read this for quite some time. Then The Book Eaters. I've also been excited to read this. And Mistress of Lies. I keep almost putting this on my TBR and then realizing my TBR is too long right now and I need to wait. Then we have the books that I plan on either unhauling or I am just not really interested in them, so I'm going to look into some more reviews, learn a little bit more about what they're about, and then decide if I plan on unhauling them or if I'm just gonna let them sit on my shelves until one day I decide to pick them up or I unhaul them. We have Lies We Sing to the Sea. This is some kind of maybe mermaid situation. Also has something to do with Odysseus. I'm just not really excited by this. It might be amazing. Maybe I will read it at some point. It just doesn't seem like my kind of read. Then we have Red Scholar's Wake. I don't mean to be rude, but somehow this is one of the ugliest covers I've seen. I don't know what it is about it. I just don't like it. I don't know. I think I'm judging this book too harshly by its cover because I don't even know what this is about. I think it's something sci-fi, space opera. Yeah, I don't think a space opera is my vibe. But then again, I can't think of a single space opera, so maybe I haven't even read any and maybe I should give it a shot. But I don't know, I'm just not really excited by this at all. Then we have The Luminaries. I've heard great things about this. I started it. I think I'm like I'm a couple chapters in, and I think I need to read my physical copy because I was reading it on my e-reader from my library loan, and I was just so bored by it and I did not get very far. So I want to give this one more shot before I make my decision. Then we have Fathom Folk. I keep trying to decide if I want to give this a shot and also maybe choose it for one of my book club picks because the story sounds really interesting. It is inspired by East Asian mythology and ocean folklore, and of course lists a bunch of books that I have read and love, and it sounds really cool, but I've also seen quite mixed reviews on this. So I'm just not very excited by this. I do want to actually give it a shot and read it before I decide to unhaul it, but I'm just kind of meh on it at this point. Then we have Some Desperate Glory. Again, this is possibly the ugliest cover I've ever seen. I think I saw an alternate cover for it that looked good, but this is just, what is this? It's upsetting to me. This again is a sci-fi book. I know absolutely nothing about it. Captive Alien. I love sci-fi, but for some reason, the sci-fi that they keep picking is just not for me. And I know that Illumicrate has now created a separate sci-fi subscription box. I haven't seen what their picks have been so far or if they even started shipping them out. I'm not going to sign up for another book box. It's just not financially feasible. Having two is already rough, especially since I have not been reading many of them. So I will not do that. But based off of their sci-fi picks for their general book box before they decided to split up, I'm not looking forward to it. So I think I'm definitely unhauling that one. Then we have We All Fall Down. This one sounded really interesting, but there was a lot of controversy surrounding this book, or maybe the author said something problematic. I'm not sure. This all went down like 2 years ago, so I don't remember entirely what happened. But ever since I saw that, I just really was not interested in supporting this author, so I have not looked at any updates recently about how that all went down. I don't stay up to date on the book world news as I like to be sometimes. There's just too much going on at all times. There's too many things. So I definitely pay attention whenever there's something big or there's something going on with an author, but I have not kept up on what happened here. So I definitely want to check that out and see what it is. And then I'll either decide to unhaul it or give it a shot. We shall see. Then I have Kapitana. This is like one of the most recent books that I got in my book subscription box, and I wanted to skip it, but I've been recently trying to figure out which month you need to skip for which book, because you have to skip the pay period before that book that you receive. It's a whole thing. So yeah, this is like a pirate book. I don't care. Last of all, we have the 10 books that I plan to read. I just know nothing about them. I'm not as excited to read them as some other books, but there isn't any specific reason that I'm not interested in reading it, that I plan on hauling it or DNFing it. I just, you know, don't know a lot about these and have no specific reason to be jazzed for them right now. In this stack, we have Zara. No idea what this is about. Beautiful cover. After the Forest. Also, not a clue. No idea. Starling House. I am looking forward to reading this. It's just, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of books I plan on reading, and this is a lower priority compared to everything else. Until We Shatter. No idea. Seems cool. The Last Hour Between Worlds. I think this might have something to do with time travel, so I'm looking forward to it. It also is sapphic apparently, but this is such an ugly cover. I don't know what it is with a lot of time travel novels just having bad covers. Like, why are there clocks? Like, I don't know. I just, it's not, oh God, I don't like the cover, but I do want to read it. I'm not going to not read a book just because it has an ugly cover, but I might not prioritize it. Then we have The Sun and the Void. I feel like a lot of people were reading this recently, or maybe not that recently, when this came out, like over a year ago, and then I heard nothing. So it became deprioritized. The Drowned Woods. I don't like this cover. It seems cool. It's about like Kingdom of Wales and it's like entrenched in Welsh legend and fantasy. It's just not the cutest. To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods. I am very excited for this one. It looks really good. It's just too many books. Song of Silver Flame Like Night. I've heard great things about this author, and it's funny because I have her other book, The Scorpion and the Night Blossom, which has a very similar cover, which is kind of weird to me. Because I don't think that they're not part of the same series. So it wigs me out when books have very similar covers but are from different series. But yeah, book by the same author. This has Chinese mythology in it and I've been meaning to read it. I think there also might be a dragon featured in this one. I'm not sure. But this was also something I'm considering for a Mythologists book club pick. But like I said, it's just a little lower priority than everything else. And then last of all, the Jasad Heir. I've heard really great things about this. My friend Mac recently read this because I gifted her a copy of the book because it sounds very much up her alley, but she really enjoyed it, so I plan on reading it. It's just, I don't love the cover very much. And as I said before, too many other books to read. So those were all of the Illumicrate books. So now that we've gone through all of the books, let's go back to our stats. As I mentioned, Fairyloot had 23, Illumicrate had 29 books. I read one Fairyloot book and I read 7 Illumicrate books. There are 12 Fairyloot books that are next up on my TBR and that I'm excited to read, and 5 Illumicrate books that I'm excited to read and are next up on my TBR. There are 4 Fairyloot books that I plan to unhaul or am uninterested in, and 7 Illumicrate books that I plan to unhaul or am uninterested in. So it's honestly a very mixed bag because I read 4% of Fairyloot but 24% of Illumicrate. So either I'm just prioritizing the Illumicrate books more over the Fairyloot books, or Illumicrate just has been picking books that I'm more excited to read and more interested in than Fairyloot. But also, if we include the books that I have read and the ones next up on my TBR that I'm excited to read for both of these, then 34% of the Fairyloot books I either read or am really excited to read, and 41% of the Illumicrate books I have read or am excited to read. So again, Illumicrate wins out. Then let's consider design and covers. If I just look at the covers that I absolutely love from each of these subscription boxes, or the covers where they change the cover from the original and I love the cover change and would absolutely want to have this specific cover that they've created. For Fairyloot, they have 52%. 52% of their books that I have here, I love the cover and I really want to read it based off of their cover change. 31% of the Illumicrate books have a cover I love or have created one that I like more than the original. So it's a very mixed bag. From all of these stats, it seems like Illumicrate picks more books that I'm interested in reading or have prioritized picking up those books, but also because these are exclusive editions and half the draw of getting exclusive edition is the sprayed edge or the cover change, and for that Fairyloot wins out with a higher percentage of covers that I really love. But that hasn't necessarily meant that I've picked up those books. I've just have those on my next up TBR more than the Illumicrate. So I don't know if any of these stats have specifically helped you in making a decision which of these book boxes you would like to subscribe to, or if this is at all interesting statistics about these books boxes in particular and how I have prioritized my reading of them, how I'm interested in them. I would definitely like to do a check-in video either a year or two from now to see what subscriptions I still have, if I have still kept my subscription for both of these. I've been considering canceling one, but wanted to do this check-in first, and I am no closer to trying to make that decision now than before, because it's honestly such a mixed bag. Like, I have more overall Fairyloot that I'm interested in reading, but I have read more Illumicrate. I tend to like the Fairyloot covers more than Illumicrate, but does that mean I would like to cancel one over the other? I am not sure. So for now, I'm going to be more cognizant of what books are coming up next for both of these subscription boxes and skipping the ones that I'm not interested in. There are limited skips for both of these, so if I run out of skips, that might end up making my decision for me. For now, I am excited about the next up books for both of these boxes, and I believe I've only skipped one of them recently. So we shall see. Let me know what book boxes you're subscribed to, if this has at all helped you with your decision-making process of what you would like to subscribe to, and based off this video, which one you prefer. Fairyloot, Illumicrate, or maybe one of the other ones that I briefly showed of Owlcrate, Fox and Wit, or Once Upon a Book Box. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye!